Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hey, Internet friends, this is Magic Brad with the Magic Brad Show, and I've got a new friend. He's just down south 35W in Austin, Texas. His name is Arie, and the last name is Brish. Is that right?
Correct.
I got it right?
Yeah, you got it right. You're a magician. No wonder they call you Magic Brad.
That's right. It's the world is magical to me. Everything's always different. You never know how things are going.
It might be surprises.
So you live down in Austin. How long you been down there?
Oh, let me see. Almost 32 years.
You don't remember. It's been so long.
I don't remember. So we came here for 3 years assignment. I used to work for Motorola in Israel. And if people wonder where the accent is from Israel, or at least Israeli accent after 32 years in Texas. So it's kind of a blend. So anyhow, I used to work for Motorola in Israel, and they relocated me to Austin with the original plan was for a 3 years assignment. And 32 years later, we're still here. My wife is still mad at me for cheating her into that adventure, but she enjoys here too.
I think I like it down there. I have not been to Austin, but I've got a niece in Austin and an actor friend of mine that moved out of LA, and he moved to Austin, Texas. And
Austin is one of the most desired cities. Depends which study you read. When we came here, people don't believe us because now it's such a big party city. When we came here in 1988, it was such a sleepy town that if we had to do some special dinner for breakfast, for birthdays or anniversaries, we used to drive to San Antonio because Austin was like a curfew, after 7 or 8 p.m. Now it's the opposite. San Antonians come to here, and people from all over the world come here because it's became a famous party city.
Yeah, people like it. I call them more like bohemian cities, kind of like Asheville, North Carolina, and like Portland.
Yeah, it's kind of Las Vegas, San Francisco, one of these, New Orleans, one of these.
Older, a lot of hippies, right?
Hippies, Sin City, Party City, whatever your preference is.
So let's talk a little bit about your business. I did a little bit of poking around, but it looks like you deal a lot with I'm more of a owner operator kind of person, but it sounds like you're dealing more on the C-level executives.
Right. So as I said, I worked for Motorola for 20 years, so I have a very strong corporate background, and I used to work for another company a few years before. But in 2002, after 20 years at Motorola, I got tired of corporate. I wouldn't say tired of corporate, but more just looking for something else to do.
Yeah.
So I started my venture startup journey in 2002 and never looked back. There are lots of differences and lots of similarities. The big similarity is you have to realize that you deal with people. In the corporate world, the people are wearing the same badge as you are in most cases. In the small business world, most of the people you deal with are not part of your business. But you have to be sensitive to the human factor.
Well, definitely in the small business world, it's a different kind of, there's not so much structure, corporate structure kind of thing. I know that I did some consulting work with a shop that sold chocolate, and they had the case was this truffle case in the front, and they had the display right in the middle. They had cash register on each side, and everybody always bottleneck and get caught up in the middle. And I would say, why don't you move this to the side, and then you could filter people around, and it'd be so much easier. And they say, we can't because it's not the corporate way. They had their way.
So they were part of a franchise corporate thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so how did they pay you? With rich chocolate or with money?
A little bit of that. I remember they have chocolate covered strawberries, and you could get like 3 big strawberries, and it's like $65 for them.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. It's all perceived value, yes?
Uh-huh, uh-huh. So going back to your question, I've done venture work since 2002. I was a co-founder, VP of marketing business development for one startup here in Austin. And then we were acquired by Intel, and then I was looking for something else to do and was hired to be a CEO of a company in Israel, even though I was based in Austin at the time, but commuted to Israel every other week, which was American Airlines love me. When they see me, they bow. And I did that for 4 years until 2008 came and kind of put a stop on everything that was going on. The only vertical or market segment that was still strong and active back in 2008 was clean tech. So I started to do freelance work for clean tech companies. Started with wind energy, but then migrated to solar and smart grid and green buildings and blah, 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 and expanded, slowly expanded to other industries. So now I'm, 12 years after 2008, I'm more or less industry agnostic. I had engagements in cosmetics and jewelry and oil and gas and anything in between.
Yeah, I think there's some basics in business that is applicable to all industries. But
exactly. And people don't realize that. So most people, just go in the same path, and they don't realize that they can learn from other industries. So at some point, I started to write some notes and blogs about learning from other industries' experiences, and woke up one day and realized I have enough material for a book. So I published a book.
I saw your book in a very unique name. It's Lay an Egg and Make Chicken Soup.
Yeah, here it is. I hope.
So I've not read your book, and I've not. Okay, yeah, Lay an Egg and Make. So I've not read the book, so I don't know what it's about. But I'm going to guess that it's sort of like planting the seed. You lay the egg, and as that grows, then you can make chicken soup when the chicken gets older. Is that
exactly? So it builds on the metaphor of chicken and an egg, but I took it to the next step from a chicken to a chicken soup. And strangely enough, with all the Amazon algorithms, sometimes I pop up in a cookbook section. So it's not a cookbook; it's a business book. And as you guessed right, it's about growing the business from seed or from egg to a successful business or enterprise. The book became bestseller. I didn't intend. Number one, I didn't intend to write a book. One day my family didn't know I'm writing a book, and only like 2 or 3 months before I published it, I told them, hey, I wrote a book. Guess what? I wrote a book. So we published the book. It became a bestseller very quickly. So I'm happy with that result. But the theme, many people or many entrepreneurs, when they start a business, they have a great idea. But in many cases, they are not aware of all the risks and all the blind spots that they have in implementing and executing on this idea. And I dial back, I also, in the past 2 or 3 years, I served as mentors in different universities and different accelerators, and I realized that almost across the board, that's an issue with most entrepreneurs. They have a brilliant idea, but in most cases, they don't have a clue on how to implement it. So my book focused on the implementation aspect. Most books in the venture category focus on how to come with a new idea and how to raise money for a new idea, and that's where they stop. In my case, maybe the first 20% of the book is how to come with a new idea and how to raise money, but 80% is how to execute. So eventually, your investors and you will make money at the end of this journey.
Right. So some people, they get into it, they have this concept and I think that's a great idea. So they got this big vision, but they don't know how to bridge between the vision and how to get there.
Right. And one of the issues that you find, you have almost gray hair as most people with brilliant ideas are younger in age, because when you are younger, you think out of the box, you tend to challenge the system. So you come with a good idea, but then because you are young, you don't have the experience on how to execute. So I have in the book a section about diversity, by the way, and people tend to think about diversity as a racial thing or a gender thing, but that's not the issue. The issue is different ways to think about problems, different way to approach problems, different thinking angle to
more
bring
like
to
a
the
diversified portfolio or
diversified thinking.
Ideas.
Right. So you need to diverse yourself. Gender and race is one of them. Ethnicity is another. Countries of origin is another. Religious is another. Everything that makes who you are kind of defines the way you think and the way you approach problems, and even science and engineering. Most of my career I worked with engineers, and I definitely could see that engineers from different backgrounds tend to think differently even when they approach engineering problems.
Yeah, they're stuck in a rut kind of thing.
Yeah. So going back to the age thing, age diversity in the team is also important for the reasons we talked about. The gray hair brings some experience to the table, where the younger people brings out of the box thinking.
Well, I just had a conversation earlier this morning with a guy, and we were talking about, I got a friend that has a party supply company, and the people, they've been around for a long, long time. So the people that own the company, they are thinking, I'm going to do a radio ad. And they don't think about this new stuff that they've got with like Facebook ads and apps and all this technology, because they don't get it. So they need to get rid of that old thinking and kind of do some unlearning and get back into this new stuff.
Yeah. So I'm not suggesting that every startup needs to hire at least one older person, because it may not fit the team. If everybody is 20 years old, they're not going to hire a 50 years old person in the team. But there is other ways to address it. You can, have mentors. You can have consultants. I know Michael Dell, when he started Dell Computer, he was in his 20s. He hired all his VPs were 20 years older than him. So he was smart enough to surround himself with lieutenants that are older and more experienced, where he was a visionary. Now he's probably the oldest person in the company.
Well, those are some wise words, some, to diversify just the age category, even the thinking styles. Some people think they have a different thinking style. My brain tends to toggle, left, right brain all the time. I'm thinking more analog over here, then all of a sudden digital over here. It's like before this COVID thing happened, I was in primarily the event industry.
Okay.
I was in events, hospitality, travel, and tourism.
Oh, wow. I love travel.
And then, well, during COVID, you can't do so much.
Yeah, right. Yeah. so you do it.
So I was able to pivot and start doing the online, and I'm still using some of my event marketing strategies, but they just happen to be digital meetups and Zooms and things like that. Be innovative about it. So fortunately, I got this Gemini brain, so I got my own consultant inside my head.
Yeah. So when diversity started as a social thing back in the 80s, people did it or corporate did it for social justice kind of motivation. But now, 30, 40 years later, there is lots of research that shows that diverse teams are doing somewhere between 50% and 70% better, 50 to 70% better business results when they have a diverse team.
Even the diversity of a culture, or cultural diversity within, because different businesses work. I remember the guy was telling me about doing business in Japan. You can't just give them your business card and throw it in your pocket. You need to take the business card and respect it.
Yeah, right,
So you need
exactly.
to
And
know that stuff if you're
yeah,
working from someone from Japan or Saudi
yeah,
Arabia or wherever,
yeah,
different
yeah.
cultures.
Different cultures, so you need, that's another point when you want to expand internationally. Okay, let me turn off this phone. There is like 5 million telephones here
That
in
might
this
have been the
office.
clients calling you.
That's my wife's phone. So
Okay. That might be more important. We better hurry up
yeah,
here.
right, yeah. So, oops. Oh, somebody's talking there.
There you go.
Yeah. So where were we about the cultural? Yeah, when you have to expand internationally, when you take your business internationally, if you're in a travel business, you know that. And do business overseas, you have to be very sensitive to the fact that other countries are thinking differently and
But I
doing
think
business.
not even other countries now, because the other countries are coming here to the United States. So there's so
Right.
many different cultures
Yeah.
and how people work. I know that
Yeah.
Amazon had a bunch of issues because of the Muslim community wanted to be able to take prayer breaks.
Yeah. Right.
We're not used to that kind of thing. So it's a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
different culture. You have to adapt to it.
Exactly. And when we came here in 1988, there was very few foreign families in Austin. Like in Motorola, there was a handful of foreign families or foreign employees. Now it's almost a standard, at least in a high tech, to have big portion of the team is people coming from other countries.
So your book covers a lot of that. Do you also do some like consulting, or do you do workshops and seminars and speaking from the stage or
Yes,
anything?
yes. So as I said, I started as mentoring and advising and consulting to other businesses. That's what triggered writing the book, because I saw common issues among all my clients and mentees that they're not aware of all the practical challenges they're facing. So now I spend a portion of my time supporting the book and another portion of my time talking about the concept or spreading the concept of the book, either in shows like this, speaking engagements, speaking in academia. Like this morning, I was negotiating a guest speaker in one of the universities here in Texas. And I still continue my consulting, so that I have a mixed bag of things I'm doing.
So who is your ideal customer profile? Is it any specific industry that you like to work with? Any specific age range? Any specific gender?
It used to be high tech 20 years ago, but not anymore. As I said, I diversified myself since 2008 and became totally industry agnostic. At this point, for example, I have 4 or 5 clients. One is medical devices, one is clean tech, one is social media, another one that is kind of logistical software, and the 5th one is in agricultural technology.
Got quite a
all
diversified
different.
portfolio.
So, yeah, and people hire me because of my network of connections. If they need network connections into investors, whether they need the connections to market and business development. These are the type of engagements I do. Strategic planning for the new business. So these are the kinds of, in the past I had, as I said, I had jewelry, I had cosmetics, high tech, of course, energy. So I became very industry diverse and agnostic, I would say.
And most of this data is on your website, but I have to ask you, what is CXO360? What's the CXO for?
Okay, so it's you ask a simple question, but the answer will be long.
Okay.
So when I first left Motorola, CXO stands for, and still stands for, Chief Anything Officer. So kind of over my career, I did different jobs in engineering and R&D and marketing and operations. So I became also agnostic as far as the business discipline. So the X is agnostic of the
Okay,
business
so like
discipline.
CEO, CFO, COO.
Right, right, yeah.
Interesting.
The 360 is also, you know, a circle of doing everything, but also my office at the time was on Highway 360
Oh,
in
really?
Austin, Texas. So it has a dual meaning of the 360.
So it's CXO360.net for those of you that are listening. I will put that link also in the
Thank you. Yeah, the
description.
.com was taken somehow by somebody.
That's okay. You're more of a networker than you're like that.
Right, right. Yeah. So a big part you ask why people hire me, a big part of it is who I know. They hire me because I know so and so and so and so.
Yep. So someone say, hey, Arie, you know anybody that's got like $250,000 they could invest into my new little bread shop?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Say, sure, talk to Steve.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Arie, I don't like to do these too long because people get limited time, you know, so it gives them an opportunity to digest it all. But
Yeah.
I'm going to sign this one off and beam it up to the universe and let people find it with keywords and hashtags and social media links and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I appreciate you having me.
Is there anything else you want to add? Any words of wisdom?
Just to show the picture of the book in case you see it on the bookshelf or something.
Yeah, you definitely got that out there because I did see it. And who knows, people look at it as a cookbook. That's for cooking up your new business, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. There is a cooking metaphor here.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Arie. Appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Okay,
Peace.
thanks for having me. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.